asking personal questions where you're joining us from, but I have yet to introduce myself. So I'm Cynthia Alcantar. I'm the director of the Higher Education Administration's program, and I'm also a professor in the program as well. So I teach and direct. I'm fairly new to LMU, so I just started this fall. The person who was directly before me was directing and was part of the team that started the program to begin with a couple years ago. Compared to other graduate programs, the higher education program is fairly new in the School of Education, which is great. I mean, I think sometimes that gives us a lot of room to be even better and greater. One of our strengths is, of course, our awesome students. I also want to recognize that Janet Cortez is in our session tonight. She's a current student, is about to graduate this semester. Woo. And so she'll also be joining us, or she is joining us, and we'll share a little bit about her experience and her perspective. And also she will be a resource to you. If you have any questions to her, you could be jotting down some questions. I have a presentation for you that I'll give you some more details about the program, about admissions, and then I'll turn it over to Janet, who will introduce herself, share a little bit about her reasonings for doing this program, and maybe give you some of her, like, what is a key thing about the program that she's or her experience that she's had so far. And then we'll do Q&A. You could stop me at any time though, like if you have questions as we're going, or something doesn't seem clear or something, just let me know. So I am new to LMU, but I'm not a new faculty. So I come from University of Nevada, Reno. As I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Riverside, so I know the area very well. Graduated with my PhD at UCLA, so I know the area even from around here. I do a lot of research around minority serving institutions, particularly Hispanic serving institutions and Asian American Pacific Islander serving institutions. A lot of work with community colleges. I do a lot of things around serving underrepresented and racial ethnic minoritized students. That's a little bit about me. What else I should share too, that I'm first gen Latina. I share all these identities with you because sometimes I know for me, that's always important to see, like, who's actually who's a part of the program and kind of what their perspective is in terms of coming at it in terms of their teaching and approaches. So let me share my screen. And actually, since we're a small group, do you mind introducing yourself and sharing? We already know where you're at, but share a little bit about like what you're currently doing now. Maybe it's some volunteer work you're doing, or current work, or maybe you're still in school, whatever that may be. Do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself and maybe why you're joining us? Like what's your interest into coming into our session today? Can we go in order in my screen? Darian, do you mind going first? And did I spell did I pronounce your name right?
It's actually Darian.
Darian, okay. Ooh, even nicer.
Thank you. I actually am an elementary school teacher right now. I teach second grade. I completed my credential program last year. This is my first technical year of teaching, although I've been in education for a while. I just really am looking to see if higher education maybe is a better fit for me. I think that I might want to work with an older student demographic instead of younger. So yeah, just trying to figure out what works best for me.
Sounds good. Welcome. Oscar, you want to go next?
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Oscar. I'm originally from Northern California, the Bay Area, East Bay. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the area. But did my undergrad at UCLA, majored in economics, and immediately after started working as a college success advisor. First started off working in a middle school, now currently working with seniors. So similar to Darian, just trying to figure out what would be the best next step for me. I work a lot with alumni as well, just checking and making sure they have what they need at their current respective schools, just referring them to different advisors, resources. So I think this program would be, really good fit for me. Also trying to figure out if, a higher or an older demographic would be a good fit for me as well.
And you're at LMU, or you're working as a success program specialist at another school?
I work at a high school, so I'm a college success advisor for high school in Inglewood.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Before faculty, I should have also shared that I worked for Upward Bound. So I worked with high school students, well, 9th through 12th grade students. I also taught elementary. So I have yet to work with middle school, but a lot of more power to you, middle school. But yeah, I did all that, worked with Upward Bound Norco Community College. I worked with STEM program at Mount St. Mary's, an all-women's college in LA. I worked at Pitzer College. I've worked at various different types of institutions. So yeah, welcome. Thank you. And our next person. So I'm not sure if this is a last name, Lanithia, but if you could, or Lonithia, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Would you mind sharing?
Okay. Okay. Yes, you pronounced it correctly. Let me. Okay. Well, I'm an older student. My experience is with, working, assisting in the classroom. I've worked with highly gifted students, students who live with disabilities. I've earned 3 degrees, associate, bachelor's, and master's degree. Public administration. I am trying to figure out where I fit at this time. After, my last semester, earning, completing my master's degree, my daughter got ill, and I had to, step out of my internship to stay home and care for my daughter. And so now she has earned her associate degree, and she's earned, going to school for a bachelor's. She's doing well now. And it's time for me to go back. That was 2006 when I, graduated with my MPA, public administration degree. So I learned that you cannot go back into the workforce, if you don't have your internship or that experience. So now I've been just getting any type of job that I could get. And while I still work with her, so that's where I'm at. So I'm looking into programs to see what fit for me with the background that I do have. I have, my background is very diverse in terms of my employment. So that's where I'm at.
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you. And congratulations to your daughter.
Yes, thank you.
And to you. I mean, you're part of the team.
Oh, yes.
I'm a first-time mom, so I'm learning from you.
Okay.
My baby's 15 months old, so we still have a ways to go to the college.
Yes.
Lori and Genesis, welcome. We're just doing quick introductions since we're a small group. Do you mind sharing where you're joining us from and what you currently do, and what brought you to this particular session for the Master's in Higher Education program? Lori, you want to go first, and then Genesis?
Hi, my name is actually Jolie.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, you're cutting off a little bit. So we lost you. Let's go with Genesis. Genesis, do you mind introducing yourself while we get her back on here?
Hi everyone, I'm Genesis. I actually work at LMU. I just started working here about gonna be 5 weeks today, actually.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I work in student employment services. And I am actually a couple weeks away from finishing my master's in management at Loyola University. And I, came in here and started looking at the different opportunities where I could continue to expand my knowledge and be a better asset at work. And so this feels like a potential right fit for me. I did speak to somebody who graduated from the program who also works here. And she talked about being able to work and also do the program. And so, just kind of exploring that. I also feel like my brain is still in like study mode. So I'm trying to like ride the wave versus like taking too much time off and then I don't want to go, but this would just be something extra because I'm graduating right now with my master's. So
yeah, good. And your master's is in what again?
Management, particularly, so basically it's an MBA with a emphasis on nonprofit management.
Oh, nice. Well, it will be a good combination, a good combo, and we could chat more about that too.
Yeah.
So let's see, I think she signed up. So I'm going to start the presentation, and then if we have, I forgot, I didn't catch her name. Did you catch it, Janet? What was her name? The woman who kind of signed up?
I don't remember, but
okay.
But if she joined in, we have her marked as attended on
okay.
our, yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. All right. So I just wanted to start with the SOE missions and goals. As you all know, LMU is a Jesuit institution. And so what does that mean? I mean, I think we just, a lot of folks wonder, well, what does that mean? Does that mean like it's a religious institution, and so therefore like you all pray all like what does it mean? Like would I be expected to be Jesuit? It is a Jesuit institution and it follows a lot of the missions of the Jesuits, but it doesn't mean that you have to be Jesuit. There's a lot of folks on campus who would consider themselves atheists. Like everyone and anyone is welcome at this institution. But part of some of the key missions that are a part of the Jesuit tradition is like a lot of these like lifelong learning, education for the whole person, justice for all those different missions that are part of the Jesuits are very much a part of the School of Education. And so just that's what frames a lot of the work that we do in the School of Education. And another part of our mission that's a part of the School of Education and commitment, and it's very much, it influenced a lot that we're doing in the higher education program, is a commitment to social justice. And what does social justice mean? It means a commitment to being anti-racist, to diversity, to equity, to inclusion, and justice for all. Having a stronger understanding of the social injustices, both historical and contemporary, that impact different individuals, different groups, and think about ways to reduce some of these institutional barriers for racial, ethnic, minoritized groups or different more marginalized groups, and foster an inclusive culture. And so a lot of the things that we cover in class or discussions that we have, or the perspectives even that our students bring, come with that kind of lens, with that mindset that what is it that's going on? What can we learn in terms of research? But then also, what can we do about it? What can we do to better support different groups? Some benefits of LMU, and particularly our program in the higher education program, it is a cohort model of diverse students. I think that's one of the key things of our program, is that that might be a little bit different than other places. You start with the group, you end with the group. Like, every class you're with these folks, throughout the whole program. It's a 2-year program. You have, so you end up building this group of colleagues, groups of friends who support you along the way. So it's not just the support from the faculty, you have peer support as well. And when I say diverse students, the School of Education, that might be something that's different about School of Ed compared to the broader LMU, is actually, it's one of the more diverse of the schools of within the institution. Like if you were to just look at LMU, technically by numbers, it already counts as an HSI, but you can't apply necessarily in terms of just one school within a school. But it is a very diverse students within our classes, and we welcome that. We love that. We have small classes. I mean, right now, the smallest we have, the first year cohort is only 3 students. So imagine all the attention that you get. Yanet's cohort is 6 students. And so that's how small kind of the group is. So it ranges, every year might range. So it could range from as little as 3 from last year to 10. The biggest group that we've had historically was about 12 students. So generally it's just a very small cohort. It's intentional. Like we want to have that relationship with you. We want to be able to get to know you, to support you along this whole process. With that comes the individualized attention, as I mentioned. Some other benefits is the faculty that you have. So you have myself, but you also have other scholars that are part of our program, which I'll share a little bit of, give you a sense of who they are in a little bit. Some of these folks also work at LMU. These are some VPs and so forth, like, because we liked to expose you to different folks who are practicing what we're learning. And in that also comes a lot of great benefits too, like the networks that you get to build and establish with these different faculty that you have. The other aspect of it is the direct fieldwork application. So you do have a fieldwork component for the program where you would be doing this in the second year and applying a lot of the things that you're learning into the field of higher education. All of our classes are late afternoon or evening. So there's a start time about 4:30 and then a second class at 7:15. How they're structured right now is that they're stacked. So the first one starts at 4:30, the second one starts at 7:15. And that's done intentionally for the working professionals. So like if you have to work, if you're working full time, it provides a good kind of structure for you to be able to do that. And so that's what we have going on now. These are some of the faculty. So myself, another faculty member in my department who's teaching some of those classes and who will continue to be teaching is William Perez. Janet, I don't know if Janet's group got to have a class with him at any point, but he's been teaching in the Department of Education Leadership, and he'll be teaching a lot of our classes. He's teaching now, and we'll be teaching some of our other classes. Some of our other folks that have been teaching this particular academic year, right now, we have Terry Mangione, who's the Dean of Students and Vice President for Student Affairs, Dan Marshner, International Admissions. You have all these folks that you're seeing on the screen, like, are some of the big heavy hitters of LMU and who provide a lot of, who are not just like amazing in terms of their leadership and, you know, in terms of their roles, but they're also very student centered, which I love about LMU and our program in particular. Like, everybody wants to see you succeed, and everybody, I could say, is that for you, like for our students. I think they're always wanting to do better, be better, and support our students. The program itself, it prepares you for different parts of higher education. It's not exclusively in one area. So working in community college settings, private schools, nonprofit as related to higher education, like some of the community-based programs too, who maybe focus more into the higher ed world. It really kind of gives you the foundations around the research, scholarship, and practice and policy in terms of higher education. And then as related to the field work, I mean, that's one area where you could start integrating, like if you wanted to go to the community-based program routes or nonprofit route, perhaps that's where you complete a field work and a nonprofit and apply some of the things that you're reading and learning about in higher education into that setting. So we support students working at different types of institutions. Our alumni are literally like in all types of places. We even have an alum who works with Fox Sports, and she works as like a recruiter for working with higher education institutions. And so we have folks from that. We have folks across the country in different types of roles and settings, or even just down the freeway at USC, we have a lot of folks working there too. I mean, all over the place. What else? The program is 2 years, 31 units, and it starts in summer session 2. So you would start, it's like late June, early July that you would start with a 6-week summer class. It'll be one class, 3 units, and then comes during the academic year, it's 2 classes each term. So this to give you a sense of what the different courses are, and that I will have to say that the titles don't really do the program justice, like in terms of what you're learning. Like, it doesn't communicate all the things that we do. One thing that I will share, for example, so me coming in new to this role, one of the things I'm looking at is seeing like where are areas of growth and opportunity for our program. And one is that, like, how do we communicate even through our class titles, what we actually do? And so, for example, 6, 7, 13, which currently is Theories of College Student Development, that's already being, that title is being changed to Theory to Practice, because really it's a class about the theories in higher education, and then how do we apply theory into the practice of higher education, and using like critical perspectives and so forth as we make change in our institutions or organizations. So that's what you do. You do have a comp exam at the end, which is a problem of practice paper. So throughout the different courses, you're working on different aspects of the paper or different aspects that could inform your paper at the end. And so that's something that our students like Janet and her cohort are currently working on now. So you do that final paper at the very end. Admissions requirements, you'll be required to write a personal statement. And I'll give you a sense of the questions. You can also find these online. You have official transcripts that you have to submit. Letters of recommendations, I have S in parentheses. Why? So there's one letter required. This is a change from last year or previous years. One letter is required, but I put S. You have an option to do a second letter only if you think that you need it. So like with an instance. So for example, like let's say most of the people who know you best are maybe your director that you work with, your supervisor, but maybe they don't necessarily work in higher education specifically. They could speak to your leadership capacity, how great you are working, with other folks and all that kind of stuff. But maybe they haven't seen you work as a student, like they haven't seen you as a student, like taking classes or whatever. So you have an option to do a second letter where that second person can maybe write just about like, your ability to do school. And then it's optional. Like I said, there's no plus factors or anything like that. If you have that second one, it's really just the one required. And then you have a virtual interview with me. A priority deadline is April 15th. The most important parts is the letter of recommendation, just an FYI, that's something that could be a little late if need be, but for the most part, you want to get all your stuff in by the priority deadline. This is also important for like Genesis, who you're working at LMU, because there is course remission stuff related, and so you want to get your stuff in sooner than later, especially for you. But yeah, so keep that in mind. It doesn't mean that you won't be considered if you apply the, May 5th or whatever. It's just a priority deadline. So this is just to give you a sense the personal statement questions that you should be addressing. So you don't necessarily have to have a higher education background to apply to this program, but just think about like why you would be applying to this and what about whether it was your personal, professional, or your service experiences, what speaks to the program? Why are you applying to it? Any kind of experiences that you've had that you feel would be a great contributor to the program. And then of course your career goals. Like what about this program would be beneficial to your future career endeavors? And this is important because like, what if you are like wanting to, what's a good example? Like maybe you want to be a biologist and have no intention of being a faculty or nothing like that. You just want to, work as a biologist and like create a work for a pharmacy. Well, I don't know if this program might be a good fit for you. And so we want to make sure that the program fits for you as well. And then why do you want to study in higher education program at LMU specifically? And this is one that I encourage you to like think about even our mission for the School of Ed or for LMU, and think about like why this program might be a good fit for you. So now I'll turn it over to Janet. Janet, do you mind introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about why you chose this program and a key thing of what is a highlight, I guess, of your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome, everyone. My name is Yana Cortez. I'm the graduate program recruiter for the School of Film and Television at LMU. And I'm also a second-year student in the higher ed administration program. Prior to starting my position at LMU, I was admitted as a student in this program, and then later on was hired in the graduate admission office, and then was promoted to recruiter. But yeah, I mean, I chose this program and university for many reasons. I was also looking at Cal State Fullerton, Long Beach, and USC, but what really stood out to me about LMU was their emphasis in social justice and just the curriculum overall. I think it really encompasses all the different areas of higher ed administration. I initially thought that I wanted to go into student affairs, so I think a lot of us do because of the programming and all the different fun aspects. But in each course, you learn more about like what makes the higher ed system work. And then it also helps you identify how you yourself, along with your cohort, your colleagues, can improve that system. So that's one of the key things that stood out to me, is that it's very applied, both theory to practice, like how Dr. Alcantar said, but also in the way that we do case studies. I think that's probably been my favorite part, is that we'll read about different like challenging ethics situations that are most of the time real, right? They're not always hypothetical, and breaking those down with your colleagues as to how you would approach that. And it's difficult, but through everything that we've learned, we kind of go through it together. And LMU really embodies like a sense of community and culture, to where we help each other out. And I think that I didn't really find that at other schools. The faculty are also amazing. So Dr. Weatherall is one of the professors for, what was the course that she taught?
The administration, I forget the time, still remembering all the titles, organization, administration.
Yes. Yeah. So in that class, I mean, she brought in a ton of guest speakers, which a lot of our professors do. And through there, I mean, in addition to like networking events on campus, you have the opportunity to learn from these higher ed professionals. A lot of external LMU people are brought in, so people outside of the university, which is really cool too, because you get to like learn directly from their applied experiences, and connect with them that way. I'm not going to say that's how I got this position, but Dr. Weatherall's recommendation was a huge help in getting employed at LMU. So like it just feels very personal when you're in these classes, and the cohort sizes. I mean, I could go on and on, but yeah, I very much have enjoyed my time so far. I think one of the most challenging things is, as someone who works full time and also is in the program full time, time management is a personal problem, but you can do it. You know, I'm not someone where working isn't an option. So I think that our faculty are very understanding and supportive. So the class times are also really great too. We have class right now once a week. It alternates semester to semester. I think last semester was Tuesdays. This semester it's Wednesdays. But yeah, no, it's great. I'm very happy, and I'm happy to be close to the finish line. If any of you have questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Janet. And so we're at the questions part. So you have the QR code where you could get more information about the higher education program. If you have, I think you by signing up, you might already automatically get this handbook that they send out, SOE admissions folks, that's specific to the higher education program, that will lay out everything that I just shared. So the courses, the course sequences, any kind of information like that. So please do, if you don't get it in an email after today, make sure you definitely sign up. But either way, look up more of our program. You can use that QR code. You can also follow us on social media. And yeah, you have my contact information as well. So yeah, any questions? I'll open it up to questions.
Hi. So I was just wondering, is June, like summer 2, the only start date that you have for this program?
Technically, yes. in terms of your cohort, but it doesn't mean that no one has ever started in the fall. We've had students where like you're whatever it may be, and I don't know what the circumstances were. I wasn't working at LMU quite yet, so I wasn't sure, but I know that there has been students that start fall. You would just basically be entering your cohort late and may finish later, like the next summer you would take that class because you still have to take that class. So like there's ways to work around it, but for the most part, yes, and that they all start, but it doesn't mean that there hasn't been changes to that if need be for folks. You know what I mean? So just let us know ahead of time, and then we could work around that. Somebody that I should have also highlighted that I didn't include is also there's an advisor that works not with just our program, other programs as well, but Mike Sersosimo, he also would be somebody who you would reach out to, that could help in terms of figuring out classes and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, because I have done everything for my application. I just have yet to submit it. I wanted to come here first.
Yeah.
So then would I just, because I am applying to summer too, so I would just still apply that way, but then kind of just in the interview process, explain the situation.
Exactly. Yep. So and then at that point we could figure out like who are the key folks. I would help you figure it out. Like who would it be? Mike, the one that pushes your stuff to fall? Like I would help you figure that out. But yes,
Okay.
I know it has, and I'm happy to work with you with that.
Okay, thank you. And one other question. So my fiance works at LMU in the ministry department. So we're getting married this summer, which is why I can't start this summer. But I was just wondering, on the application, it says for tuition remission.
Check it off.
So I would check it off on my application, even though we're not married yet.
Yes, just check it off, and then at the Yana, you could. Do you have a more information about that? Like, at what point does she then inform folks about that, or would she get contacted?
Yeah. So what would happen is I'm assuming that you would have to be formally processed prior to registration process, like in terms of like your marriage license. I believe that would have to exist because I received tuition remission on my own behalf. But you do get that benefit by being legally married as well, or if you have children. But anyway, yeah, I believe that would have to be processed prior to that happening. And then you would register for classes, and you have to apply for the tuition remission no later than the start date of the first class.
Okay. And do you know the fall, when the fall program starts? So we'll have our marriage license July 8th. So, and yeah,
I think that's enough time. Yeah, I think that would be enough time.
Okay.
It's third week or so of August that fall starts.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So my suggestion is you just click it, and then whenever they're going to ask you that, so most likely your first point of contact is going to be SOE admissions folks, who then they are going to see like, okay, you know, how do they qualify? And then I think later is the financial aid. So my suggestion is just click it. Like, if there's no harm, like they're not going to delete your application or anything. Just click it just so that you're already on their radar, that you're going to be interested.
Yeah, and I went ahead and entered in the chat, I put the tuition remission application link, because you do have to submit that in addition to clicking that off in your app.
Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course.
And just an FYI, just the school, the higher education program, there's 2 tuition remission opportunities a year. So just an FYI, like, and then you won't get considered until all your application materials are in. So that's kind of how they do it. It's first come, first serve, full applications. And so that's something to consider in terms of like how quickly your application comes in.
Okay, perfect. Because yeah, the priority you said is April 15th.
Yeah.
Priority deadline. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
If no one else has any other questions, I mean, so be it. Like, I don't want to be talking the whole time, but I
Just
was
asking because sometimes people have those same questions. They just don't know to ask, or like they haven't thought about it. Like now people might be Googling, is there a job at LMU?
right. And that's where that's what I'm wondering as well, because I was debating to apply to positions, teaching positions, because I'm also in the same situation where I will have to work during this program. So I'm in the process of both applying to elementary schools, but also I was like, it would be great if I could just work at LMU, just in like student admissions or anything. So I was just wondering what the timeline is. And I know that it varies depending on department, but the hiring process, because I don't know when is the best time to apply for like jobs at LMU.
It varies. That depends more so on different departments, even offices, even within a department and office, because it takes a while. I mean, different things have different timelines. Different folks have different timelines. You know, like if there's a committee, they have to review applications, interview folks. So it could take anywhere. I mean, I've seen some fly and they need somebody right away, like to start, because maybe they have like a summer program that they already had to hire. Those go pretty quickly, like within a month. They try to hire folks, but others have taken longer. Like, yeah, it just depends. That's I wouldn't be able to answer a definitive answer for that question. If you see anything that's interesting, like just apply. It doesn't hurt to apply. We have currently actually in our program that's, you know, the graduating with Yanet, she was also a middle school teacher and transitioned over to a LMU position through a GA-ship. So that's another financial opportunity, not just tuition remission. There's also GA-ships, graduate assistantships at LMU, and those are kind of coming on a rolling basis.
There are so many graduates.
There is a website where you could, and I think one of the sessions will cover that in terms of where would you find those GA-ships. So yeah, she was a middle school teacher, and like in like September, October, found like the right position for her, and then, you know, resigned her teaching position to go into LMU. So we've had folks in that circumstance before.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so helpful.
Yeah. Other questions? You could ask us just even questions about us too. Anything. It could be about admissions, a program, what can you do after, what do I like to eat, whatever.
Would I need a credential to enter into the program?
No, you don't. That's one of the, in higher education, there is little to no, there's like very few program, like positions out in higher ed that you would be thinking about something like that. And that would be something like, I'm trying to think, very few. Other where you would need a credential, like it would have to be like a very specialized thing, but no, for you, not for the program, not to enter the program, and not to get most jobs. Most jobs, what they do require more and more in higher ed is a master's degree at least. For sure a bachelor's degree, but at least but there's a growing number of employment positions in higher education generally across the board. You know, whatever type of institution that are requiring a master's, or it'll say master's preferred. But in terms of your direct question of credential, no, you don't need any type of credential to work in higher ed nor to enter our program.
Okay.
Yep.
So the positions that I would qualify for, or a student would qualify for, graduating student from the program, would pretty much is how would I say, pretty much a wide area. It isn't what you call a specialized degree.
It's not a specialized, it is a very special degree, but it's not a specialized, like you have to, no, it's in higher education. This is one of those type of degrees that encompasses a lot of different types of areas and sectors of higher education. So like what we have a lot is like folks who we have a lot of folks who are like, I want to be like a counselor or advisor in higher education. Like, should I go into a counseling program or should I go into a higher ed program? And my answer to that, if you want to go into higher ed counseling, you could go either route, but typically the higher education program would provide you a better perspective in terms of higher education, working with students, the structures to help you think through the programs or your organizations, and stuff like that. Whereas it's different than like counseling in the K-12 level, where it is in K-12, you need a PPS credential in California, and in other states, you have other types of like PPS type credentials that are required in the K-12 system. That's not the case in higher ed. Even like, for example, community college counselor, my husband is a graduate of a master's in counseling program, is a counselor at Long Beach City College. He has a PPS credential, but you only need it for K-12, so he's never used it. He works as a counselor, loves it. So there's that scenario, but yeah, it's not a specialized type of program in that same way as like a therapist would go for a master's in therapy and counseling type of thing. Yeah.
Do you offer internship program after the or in the last semester or?
The second year you do a field work, which is kind of like an internship type program, an internship. So you would, in that class, you would be required at least 80 hours of applied field work experience. And in that you would, I would work with you, or sometimes your peers also are a great resource, or the advisor, Dr. Mike, help you find like an area that you would be specifically interested in. Like, higher education is such a big field, but like, what draws you to this? Like, is it, is it working with particular populations, or do you like working with folks one-on-one, or do you like more things that are more administrative? Like, we would try to help you find a fieldwork opportunity where you could get that experience, start getting your foot in the door in whatever area. My other suggestion would be like looking at those GA shifts, because that would be an awesome opportunity to get a stipend. It provides some kind of support financially for your program. And it also, like the woman that I mentioned earlier, she's coming from a K-12 sector into higher ed. It's been an awesome opportunity. She describes it as a great experience for her because she's been able to get her foot in the door, has made great connections, and has been doing it now for a year. Actually, I misspoke. She was a middle school teacher, and her second year is when she found the one that was perfectly aligned for her, and let go of her middle school teaching position to go into her GA-ship. But that's another opportunity. Aside from that, there's other internship opportunities that I'm always trying to share with students that some of them are virtually based. Now, that's been one of the benefits of virtual, is that you have access to like all types of things outside of California even. And so like there's internships, for example, there's one through the Center of Minority Serving Institutions through Rutgers in New Jersey, that it's a summer type of internship. That one, and I think that one has an option to do it virtually, and you would be engaged in research policy related to MSIs. And there's other ones too. I can't think of all of them off the top of my head, but there's different opportunities like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds very good.
Yeah.
I just want to just kind of jump back to the capstone. I'm going to call it the capstone, or the thesis.
Yep.
I'm not clear on that, on your process yet about that. I know every class is going to pretty much it's a pathway. It's leading to that thesis statement or your capstone. How do you do that at LMU?
Yeah, so for our program in particular, it's a problem of practice. So throughout especially in the first year, you're trying to identify what's a key problem that you would want to address within higher education. Some students choose this problem based on their own personal experiences, and as they're learning more about the literature in this area, then they choose a specific area that they're trying to address. Like, for example, some students now have topics around race and admissions. Others have things around like women and women experiences, women reproductive rights, and as related to higher education and supports. So you would identify a topic early on, or you're encouraged to early on. I think the most, and you're encouraged to throughout, like, be thinking about it and learning about it, so that you're already kind of building your toolkit of literature that you're going to be using for your paper. At the end, it's a final paper where you identify what's the problem, what does the literature say about this problem, and then think through, and this is where, like, your experience in your field work or your experience as in your practice, like in whatever areas that you've ever done, like in your professional roles, like what is it that you would do to address this problem? So what does the literature say? But then what would you design? What would you create to, like, address some of these social injustice issues that are happening in higher ed? And then you present, so it's a paper, and then you present it out, and you get evaluated on that. So there's like a short rubric in terms of, like, are you hitting, so you're basically demonstrating, like, what you've learned throughout the 2 years in the program, and applying what you're learning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it's a qualitative research paper.
Well,
pretty much
technically what
thesis.
it would be considered,
Mhm.
it would fall more in line in terms of an extensive, what is it called? Shoot, what's the word? Systemic literature reviews. So technically
Okay.
it falls under that. In terms
Okay.
of research, that's kind
Okay.
of the branch it falls under, because you're not collecting data.
Okay.
But you are looking at the literature to make sense of
Great.
what's the problem and how would
Uh-huh.
you address it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I mean, if you wanted to do it like a full-on project, I would be open to it, but that would take a lot more. You do have, in your second summer with the program, you take a research and assessment methods course. And that's an opportunity where you'll learn, like, different types of methods. You're exposed to those things, partly because you're also part of that comp exam. You're also having to think through then, like, how would you study the impact of it? Like, not only am I going to design this, but then how would I know if it works? Like, what would be my metrics of success? Would it be, like, for example, the person who's doing something on race and admissions, like, would it be that a metric of success is looking at enrollment rates, like an increase of X amount of students from underrepresented backgrounds, or an increase in, like, outreach to different communities? Like, those are all the like metrics of success of, like, how would you then study the impact of what you did. But again, I would be open if you want to do a full-on project, but it is more time intensive, and so I would definitely, we could talk through that if that's what you're interested in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
Other questions?
Yes, are you part of the 4+1 program?
Oh, nice. Hi, Jolie. Do you have any questions about this program?
Oh, yes. Are you part of the 4+1 program? I guess my sound went out.
No, the 4+1 is through the teacher education program. So that's a different, and I'm sorry, I don't have access to all the Zoom links for the different programs. So this session is on the Master's in Higher Education program.
Okay, thank you. And also my other question is, can a degree in education administration lead to jobs in disability student services?
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely could. Like, there's a whole, I mean, first of all, there's a whole literature on this, like on students with different abilities. And then, yes, in higher education, there's different sectors that would work. I mean, all kinds of stuff. So there's full-on departments at some schools. There's centers at other schools. I mean, you could work in policy related to disability studies. What else can you do? You could decide to pursue a PhD and do research in this area too, and, like, inform the world of how better to support students with disabilities. But yeah, I'm still learning all the structures here at LMU, but I know that there's a department of it, and yes, different higher education institutions because of the Disability Act. And I'm forgetting the years, but it really wasn't that long ago in the 90s. All of higher education institutions have an office or an individual, somebody or a director to provide and to be cognizant of the different support services and the policies that are required, or the policies around support services towards to support students with disabilities. So yes, definitely welcome that too, and it would be something that you could pursue.
Great, thank you so much. My last question is what's the graduate assistantship website that you talked about?
I know that there's a session on it, and I think, but I don't have the link. I know, let me see, financial aid, the 6 o'clock session, 6 to 6:30, they're gonna talk about the link. Do you happen to have the direct link in it for where folks, graduate students find, you're currently a student, so you might already have access.
Yeah, as a current student, you would already have access to those. I think you just have to filter through instead of like undergraduate positions to graduate positions. But I can definitely find that for you as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 3 minutes left. Any other questions?
All of these courses are all in person, correct? There's no online.
There is, yes. However, just one of the things that is going to be coming, but I can't say specifically when, is that we're going to try to offer more opportunities that are in like more of a hybrid format to be able to support different students. Like we have students who are, like, for example, working in admissions who are in East Coast, like their work for LMU are in the East Coast, and she's been joining via Zoom. And so providing more opportunities for folks that aren't necessarily at LMU or near LMU, that's kind of the goal where we're headed. Still providing in-person stuff, but also providing online opportunities for folks that are more at a distance, or whose work it would be more of a challenge for them. So for as it is right now, we're accredited for in-person. The summer methods class, because that one is in combination with other programs, and this is different than for Yannick's cohort, even for Yannick's cohort, for this first year cohort, they're actually going to do an online research methods. It's mostly asynchronous, but not solely asynchronous. They're going to have some in-person opportunities. When folks say they have online programs, it doesn't mean that it's 100% one line and you don't ever see folks. It just means that a majority of it is. And so they're going to be able to do that, and they're taking the research methods class with other folks. So most likely next summer, it might be the same, where you'll have that opportunity to do online with that research methods class.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And
which in my view provides more flexibility too over the summer. Like if you are traveling, like we have folks who travel, that's their busy travel